All right, so we've got our decal marked out and we've got our boat surface marked out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my application fluid on the boat. I'm going to put a good amount on there because I want a lot of forgiveness when I start applying the decal. I want to be able to take it up, move it a little bit, slide it, stand back, look at the boat, make sure I like how it looks. I just basically am following these lines now, but appearance is everything on this. So definitely before you hard squeegee, I would recommend standing back and taking a look and making sure you agree with what you did. So I'm going to apply the application fluid. You just spray it on here. Again, just a good mist over the entire area where the decal is going to go. Again, you put a little too much. You can't put too much. The more you put on, the longer you're more than likely going to have to wait to start the removal process. But again, we'll go over that when we remove the application tape. There's ways to do that and simplify that as well. Alright, so we're going to be applying this decal today using the hinge method. It's a little bit larger decal, so it's a little more difficult, but it can be done. I could get help and do this a lot easier. You just have one person standing there and me here and just putting it on. But using the hinge method, it allows me to do it by myself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to approximately the center of the decal and I'm going to just stick a piece of tape, just masking tape is fine, any sort of masking tape, right on the center of my decal so it looks kind of like this. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to start peeling the back of the lettering away. Again, I pull in a downward motion, not out, because I want the decals to stay on the tape. And I'm just going to slowly peel this away to where I get past that halfway point of the decal, which is about the A there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this paper, again it's a little clumsy, hold the paper to the back with one hand, and then I'm holding the tape with the other hand. And then I'm going to line my line up with the center of where I wanted the decal. I have this center mark on my tape, I have the center mark on my boat. I want to align them up. Then I've got the bottom of my letters, which I've marked in blue so you can see them there. I'm going to line them up on the white lines that I put on my boat so that I got my height and my horizontal twist right. So I'm going to come down here so I can see. Try to stay out of your way there. I'm going to line that line up with the center and I'm going to just get the bottom of the decal to where it's supposed to be on that line. Start on one side again because I have the mountain of. What I'm going to do now is you just stick this up here and that holds it. I'm going to peel the back of this off right now. I'm kind of going out of the hinge method into a standard method so that I can actually see. I've got enough application fluid on here that I actually have some forgiveness, but my hinge is going to hold up there. So you see I can twist this, do whatever I need to do from that hinge point. Alright, I've got it lined up on my white lines here to my bottoms of my letters. Now I have to just slowly start working that out so that I got no bubbles under my letters. Bubbles up here in the tape don't matter. Tape's not going to stay there. But you want your letters to be wrinkle-free and bubble-free. Alright, so what we're going to show you here is a two-person installation of a graphic. Again, I've got this marked out. I've got the bottom marked so I know where the bottom of my decal goes to my letters, and I've got the center marked so I can center it from right to left where I want it to be. I've got my application fluid on. We're not using the hinge method, we're using two people, so I'm going to peel the entire backing away from the whole decal. And then I'm going to use vanity to help me hold this. So what we're going to do is we're going to line the blue marks up with the bottom of the letters. The center mark I'm going to line up with the mark I put on the boat. And then we're just going to kind of do it together. Again, we got lots of application fluid so we can remove it. It's got to go your way, your way. At which point you can let your second person go. Thank you very much. So now, after I have that done, I'm going to grab my hard squeegee and I'm just going to make sure that it's laid down good and that there's no bubbles. Again, don't get really aggressive right now because it's pretty wet and you could actually move the letters. You just want to make sure you squeegee all the water out from underneath it, all the application fluid rather, out from underneath the decal. And then we're just going to leave this set for just a couple minutes. On a surface like this, 2 minutes will be plenty. We can come back one more time, squeegee it again, and then we can remove the tape. If it seems like it's trying to peel the letters up, squeegee it back down and just leave it set for another couple minutes and try again. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back. So it's been about 2 minutes, and most of the water is started to dry. The decals are going to start to set. So what I want to do now is I'm going to remove the masking tape from it. Again, the masking tape is what held all the letters properly spaced. You can see through it, so you can see your lines and stuff. What we're going to do now is basically give it one more squeegee with our hard squeegee, just to make sure, now that it's a little drier, that the decals are going to stick good. Make sure we have no bubbles, no wrinkles at this time. It's much easier to work while the tape is still there. That's its job. The purpose of the tape is to, another purpose of the tape is to allow us to really squeegee hard without damaging the letters or the surface that we're scraping on. As soon as we take the tape off, we no longer use this particular squeegee. So I've squeegeed it back down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly remove the tape. All right, so in removing the tape without the letters coming up, that's the objective here. The most important thing that you need to understand is never pull away from the boat. Instead, what you want to do is you want to have this push down and kind of pull back along the letters. So you'll see that I'm not pulling like this. When I get to the letters, I want to kind of roll it off that letter. If I see a letter starting to come up, it's not a problem. You can just kind of push that back down a little bit. It's usually going to be at the beginning of the letters. If you have a lot of problems, what you need to do is you need to just wait a little while longer, let it dry a little bit more, and then come back. But just a nice, steady, slow pull. Keep it flat so it peels off that letter instead of pulling the letter up from the boat. And we'll do this through the entire process here and remove our application tape from our letters. Again, watching very carefully where the tape and the letters meet, because that's where the letters are going to want to be pulling up. If we start seeing it pull up, we need to just correct it. And again, you can just use your finger to do that, or you can put the tape back down and re-squeegee it. The longer you let the water dry, the less likely you're going to run into any problems like this. Like you see, this letter's starting to peel up, so it's no problem. I caught it, so I'll just fold this back down. I'll just use my finger here, I'll rub it a little bit. And the way this is going, if you just left this sit for another 5 minutes, you could just avoid all these problems together. And again, it's different on different surfaces. One of the worst is glass. When you're putting lettering on glass and you use application fluid, it takes a long time for those decals to quit slipping around. So we recommend leaving it a good hour or so on glass. But on something like this, the amount of time, a couple minutes, is enough for you to be able to do this, if you're careful removing the tape. If you want to just try to be a little rougher with the tape, you better let it dry a lot more. But with me being as careful as I am, as you can see, the lettering is staying where it's supposed to. Nothing's getting wrinkled or distorted or coming away from the boat. And we just slowly pull it off. I'm going to come back with my soft squeegee now, if needed, and just, give it another squeegee, because this is soft. It doesn't scratch the surface. It isn't going to scratch the letters, so you can now use this. But if you do a good enough job on the first step, you really don't need to do this. This is usually used on larger decals, larger areas where you want to force bubbles out and stuff like that. But if you do want to be able to come back and touch it up afterwards, you need to have a soft squeegee so you don't scratch it up. Do not use your hard squeegee on your lettering anymore after you take the tape off. From here, it'll just get better and better. The longer it dries, the longer it sits in the sun. Any small little bubbles will work themselves out eventually. Get it in the sun, and they'll evaporate over a period of time. It could be up to a week, 2 weeks, or 3 months. But they do eventually evaporate out of there, so don't fret too much about the bubbles. You can pop any major ones with a little pin if you want to, but we recommend working them out as much as you can with the squeegee, and then just letting time take care of the rest. And there you have it. We've applied a decal on our boat. The only thing we have left to do is wipe our lines off that we used to mark it out, and looks great.